Welcome to The Explainer. You know, for 4 decades, there's been this one band that's just been a relentless force in industrial music. We're talking grinding guitars, electronics that make you want to dance, and a really fierce political edge. That band, it's KMFDM. And today, we're going to break down the entire history of what they call the ultra-heavy beat.
All right, so let's start with the question literally everyone asks. It's followed them for their entire career, and it's created this whole mythology of, well, aggressive and pretty hilarious guesses. So yeah, let's just get right into it.
This one is probably the most famous answer. And it was a joke. They made it up themselves on their first US tour, just to mess with journalists who had no idea what they were saying in German.
And oh, they did not stop there. The band has had so much fun with this acronym over the years, just leaning into how absurd it all is and even encouraging fans to come up with their own crazy ideas.
But here's the real origin story. It's actually a grammatically incorrect German phrase that the founder, Sascha Konietzko, literally created by cutting words out of a newspaper in a hotel in Paris. It loosely translates to "no pity for the majority." I mean, talk about a perfect confrontational slogan. It's basically defined their whole vibe ever since.
So beyond that cryptic name, KMFDM's identity is really forged in their sound. It is so distinct, they actually had to give it its own name, the ultra-heavy beat.
And that's straight from the man himself. This quote right here, it perfectly sums up their entire musical formula. See, it was never about blending in. It was about creating this jarring, super powerful fusion of things that seemed like total opposites.
And that fusion created a sound that was honestly like nothing else out there. They were mixing industrial, electronic body music, or EBM, and techno with these just bone-crushing metal riffs. And they used samples in really groundbreaking ways. I mean, think about their track Godlike. It famously loops a riff from Slayer's Angel of Death. They turned a thrash metal classic into an industrial dance anthem. And all of it is just wrapped in these fiercely political lyrics taking a stand against war, oppression, and violence.
So you have to wonder, how did a band from Hamburg, Germany, become this absolute cornerstone of the American industrial music scene? Well, their journey is just as unconventional as their music. Let's take a look at where it all started. Okay, get this. Before they were even a band, KMFDM was basically an art installation. The very first performance had Sascha Konietzko playing bass with amps spread all through the building, a synthesizer, and this is the incredible part. 4 Polish coal miners he'd met at a bordello who were just pounding on the building's foundations. No, I'm not making that up. So from that bizarre start, things moved really fast. They made a name for themselves in the Hamburg underground, but their big break in the States came when they opened for Ministry. That 1989 tour was a massive turning point. It exposed their sound to this huge American audience that was just starving for something new and aggressive.
And that's the thing. While they kind of struggled for recognition back in Europe, American audiences, they got it immediately. For Konietzko, it was a no-brainer. He packed his bags, moved to Chicago, and it quickly became the band's adopted home and really the epicenter of their most influential years.
Okay, so as KMFDM's sound starts invading the American mainstream in the 90s, it was really powered by 2 key things: their unforgettable music and an equally unforgettable visual identity. Pretty much since their second album, almost every single KMFDM cover has been designed by this one artist, Aidan Hughes. His bold, graphic style is just as essential to the band's identity as their sound. It's one of the most consistent and memorable art collections in all of rock.
And this quote right here, it shows you exactly why their partnership works so well. Hughes's art has these echoes of old propaganda posters and this really stark, powerful imagery. It's the perfect visual for KMFDM's aggressive, political, and just larger-than-life music. It's a perfect match.
And of course, this powerful audio-visual combination was like catnip for Hollywood. Throughout the 90s, their music just started popping up everywhere, in major films, on blockbuster video game soundtracks, and it brought their sound to an even wider audience.
And just to put that into perspective for you, the soundtrack for the very first Mortal Kombat movie, which had their track Juke Joint Jezebel, sold over 1.8 million copies. So all of a sudden, the ultra-heavy beat wasn't just in some underground club, it was in living rooms all across America.
So, over 40 years, KMFDM has seen dozens and dozens of members and collaborators come and go. It's basically a revolving door of talent. So how in the world has the band managed to keep its core identity and sound this whole time?
Well, the answer is actually pretty simple. Sascha Konietzko. As the founder, the producer, the main creative force, he has been the one constant.
He's the visionary who's been steering the KMFDM ship through 4 decades of changing lineups and shifting musical trends. I mean, just look at this comparison right here. On the left, you've got the core members from their peak in the 90s, a lineup that a lot of fans would call the classic one. And on the right, you've got the lineup from recent years. What's the only name that appears on both lists? Konietzko.
And that's exactly how he sees his role. He's not just another member of the band, he's the conductor. He brings in these super talented musicians, he directs their creative energy, and he makes sure that no matter who is playing the instruments, the final result is always, unmistakably, KMFDM.
This quote just perfectly sums up his whole mentality. Even after 40 years of making groundbreaking music, his focus isn't on celebrating the past. It's about pushing forward, always working on the next album, the next tour, the next decade.
So, with a legacy of constant innovation, this uncompromising vision, and a just relentless drive to create, the ultra-heavy beat shows absolutely no signs of stopping. What you should really take away from all this is that KMFDM has kind of evolved beyond just being a band. It's an institution, it's a philosophy, and it's a permanent fixture in the musical landscape. The only question left is, what are they going to conquer next?